Alright, so here's a little video about my Mk12B two-piece crank with a red head from 1974. You guys have seen it in previous videos. Well, it was all screwed up and the bearings were all nasty, so I decided to pull it apart. What it's soaking in is kerosene or petroleum, whatever you want to call it, paraffin, anything like that. So what I was talking about this last time, about how these engines have an open bearing, like that. And they're all like cruddy and gritty. I'll show you guys what they use to seal these engines up with. So here's the rear bearing. So if we look at the rear bearing, it's like a piece of, see that? It's like a piece of plastic, or not plastic, but a piece of like cardboard stuff. See that? Oops. Let's see if I can, hang on a sec. This camera is just kind of stupid, so I'm sick of hang it up right there. Let's see if I can get this guy out. Well, here we go. Stupid thing. I'm using my cell phone again. Anyways, that's the what they call this seal. And as you can see, it's like a fibrous kind of material, which is disgusting. So yeah, that's just never gonna work. I mean, how is that supposed to seal anything? That's just retarded. But I don't know if you guys can hear that. Like, these bearings are just awful. Barely even turned at all. Considering this engine is, well, new old stock from 1975. The factory grease they use is just absolutely awful. So there's the bearings, and yeah, like I said, it's a two-piece crank, so this will bolt onto the front of the engine case, and then yeah, the center of the block and then the rear of the block, which is also detachable. The other shitty thing about this engine is, when I bought it, it did run barely. It was actually, well, it was stuck when I got it, but it did barely run. But the problem is that the cylinder and piston aren't very good. Like the fitment isn't very good, so they're very loose. So the engine has very, very poor compression. Like horribly poor compression. It will run. So as long, see all the parts in there sitting and hanging out. But the engine will run so as long as it's basically like a 70-30 mixture of like just castor oil and ether. That's all it'll run on, so which kind of sucks because I've always wanted one of these redhead black block motors because they're pretty sweet. But what I want to try and do is find another one, a new one, Mk12B, and what I want to do is I want to separate that cylinder sleeve and that pretty red head somehow without damaging it, and then get another motor in Mk12B and pull the cylinder and piston and all that out of it and put it in this one. You know what I mean? Like, kind of make one good motor out of two. And obviously with new bearings, like a correct sealed front bearing and all that kind of stuff, and make a really decent runner out of it. So that's going to be a bit of a project of mine. Exactly when it's going to happen, I'm not sure, but I'm trying to get this stupid thing to focus and it doesn't. I fucking hate this phone for that. You know, you think you pay $700 for a new cell phone, you think it would actually do something other than not focus. Yeah, it's just annoying as hell. But yeah, those are the bearings. Well, that's the rear bearing. Well, there we go. There's the rear bearing. There's the front. And like I said, these are both the same size. A Mars 2.5 takes the same rear bearing. So if you order two rear bearings for a Mars 2.5, you can change that out. If we go over here for a second, if it's still written down, that the Mk12B or V, B model and C model all take the same bearings, which are these ones. This fucking thing won't focus. Takes a 6. These are 607 bearings. So they're 607. Ignore the R. Yeah, so there's our 607. They are a 7 by 19 by 6. And you can buy 2 of those right there. And you can replace your crappy ones from factory for your Mk12B. You guys saw my silver Mk12B in my last video. It's also going to be getting its bearings replaced with a sealed front bearing, so keep your eyes out for that. Another thing I want to touch on really quick is that when you go to take these engines apart, they're often a big pain in the ass because they're stuck. The old grease in there, they're impossible. So what I use to take them apart is, I know some of you might cringe at the thought of this, but this piece right here houses the crankshaft as well as the 2 bearings, both of them. So what I did was I heated this up carefully after it had been soaking in kerosene for about a week. Heat this up until I saw the grease start to bubble out. And then I just went like pretty much, and the crank fell right out of it. And then the other bearing fell right out of it too. So that's that. Anyways, crap, someone's at my door. I gotta go.